Hello guys and welcome to another week of daily puzzles. Let's get right to it. So for our first puzzle, check for forks, well obviously we have the back rank check. They are not going to interpose as that would simply mean that our rook would be able to take their piece. So instead they are going to move their king out of harm's way. Luckily for us though, we have a queen that can slide over and give a check. Now sadly for us though, we don't have any checkmate follow-ups, but we do, however, luckily for us, have a good trade, being to take their rook, putting us in a winning endgame. One down, six to go. Our second puzzle this week is called Fork Septic. Now, how are we going to fork? Well, I think rather that we have to be septic about this fork. But luckily for us, the knight over here also provides another spot for our rook to slide over, which would mean that their king is completely trapped. It obviously can't move back due to the knight, it can't stay in position due to the rook, and it also can't take, as I just mentioned, due to the knight. Now, however, the king has nowhere to go as all our bases are covered, because yes, this pawn actually is covered by the other pawn, and if a pawn, or rather a king, has nowhere to go, that often means checkmate. How are we going to give checkmate? Well, undercover from this rook over here, because it covers this square, meaning that our pawn over here can move along, giving the check, and since there are no escapes, that's checkmate. On to the third one. Our third puzzle is called Offensive Tackles Create Touchdown Dance. So what do we see? Well, we have three attacking pawns and two defending pawns. All of the kerfuffle over here is pretty much negligible. The important thing to notice here, however, is that if we push a pawn and we keep pushing, then their king is just barely in time to actually, after we promote, take the pawn. That is also the reason why we are not going to take, because like I just mentioned, then the king simply slides in, we push the pawn, they take the pawn, and that's end of the attack. So instead we are going to push the pawn without taking, as that creates a bigger gap between the pawn and the king. Similar story here. If we take, king moves in, pawn moves forward, king moves in, pawn promotes, king takes. So instead we are going to ignore both pawns and push our own pawn. Now the king does slide in, but we actually have enough time to promote, as you can see right here, obviously being a winning position. On to the next one. Our next puzzle is called Judit's Pawn Finds a Way, and it's actually a rather tricky puzzle because it involves sacrificing the rook. Now, why do we sacrifice the rook? Well, any other option will lead to them being able to intervene. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say we move our rook over here with the idea of going for a backside attack or even horizontal defenses. Well, by the time we move our rook over here, they move their rook over there, we can push the pawn, but they will always take the pawn. However, if we instead sacrifice the rook, they have to take the rook if they want any chance, but by doing so, we gain enough tempo to push our pawn, and now no matter what they do, they cannot prevent the promotion. Because let's say they moved over here, then we take. If they move over here, obviously we simply move forward, and any other move is just too slow. So there we go, promotion. Next one. Our sixth puzzle is a tricky one, but we get a very good clue in the title, being H-file dream comes true. So what do I see? Well, obviously a king that is trapped on the H-file. And luckily for us, we actually have a way of giving check. Now, at first glance, it seems bad because that does lose the rook, but it opens up other possibilities. But first, let's explore our other options. Obviously, we could try something like rook over here, but then they take, rook over here, but then they take. So those options are not viable. However, instead, if we sacrifice our bishop, they are forced to take because let's say they instead move their king over. Well, then we simply move our rook over here, taking the pawn, and it would be checkmate. However, now in a similar idea, we can slide our rook downward as their rook no longer is a threat to this one. Now they do offer a counter attack, but it matters not because the pressure from this rook is prominent and present, meaning that our other rook can slide over, giving the check, and the king has no escapes, meaning check, mate. On to our final puzzle for the week. Never mind, I should learn how to count, as this is not our last puzzle yet this week. It's actually our second to last, but chess boxing with the king. Let's see how much we are going for a back and forth game. First off, undercover from the rook, we can give a easy check. They obviously are not going to go over there, as this would be immediate checkmate. However, now that they have come forward, we do have another check we can give, which obviously they can't move over there. All of this is covered by our pawns. This all is covered now by the rook. That's covered by the pawn, meaning that they only can actually move over there. Now, however, they are attacking our rook, so we must reinforce that rook using our other rook. Why? Well, because this still leaves our pawns in a very strong position, and we can now bring it forward, giving another check. They only have one space to go, as I just showed, all other exits are covered, and as you can see, once again, this time they have no exits, but sadly enough, we don't have needed pressure to deliver checkmate. So we first are going to tighten this box even more by giving another check, opening up a square, but also closing off the previous square where the pawn was. Now with even more squares closed and the exit, that means that this rook can slide over, and combined with the pawns and the other rook, that will be checkmate. Now on to the actual final puzzle for this week. Our final and actual final puzzle this week is called All Zugzwang No Hope. So let's start off by giving the easy check, as our king obviously has their king rather, blocked in. That means that this is the easiest check we can give, winning us a pawn with check. After which we obviously can simply bring it back, and we could go for a tie. However, that's boring, so instead we are going for a slight move, which is obviously another check. But now here it comes. We can actually lock them in. Because once we do this, they are forced to move the queen, as if they had moved the pawn, then we would simply have winning game by moving our queen over here. They would be forced to use their queen to interpose. We would be winning the queen with checkmate. However, now the similar idea goes, as our king still has this square covered, means our queen can slide in for the checkmate. There we go. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, and see you next time. Bye.